A slice of life from Seaview, the city at the tides. Seaview smelled of salt, rotwood, and fried squid, and to Marlin Trask, that was the scent of wealth. Not money, mind you, actual wealth, the kind measured in hand-pulled nets, bartered fish guts, and sun-cracked knuckles. Marlin rose before the tide bell rang, just as he had every day since his father had taught him to tie a reef knot with sea-stiff fingers. He swung his legs out of his hammock, bones groaning in protest, and poured a bucket of brine over his head to wash off the dream. It was always the same, a leviathan watching him from below the waves, eyes like lanterns. Unmoving, he shook it off. The gods of the deep had bigger things to chew on than a half-crippled netman with a drinking habit. Down on the docks the boats were already rocking with early risers. The Fleet Mother's horn had blown twice in the night, bad weather out east, but the skies above Seaview were kind this morning. Overcast as usual, with the sun behind a thick blue veil. He passed Lessa, the crab-seller's girl, who gave him a curt nod while baiting cages with chum that stank of old magic. "Trask," she said, nodding to his empty bucket. "You got enough salt for the catch?" "Salt I've got," he muttered. "Patience less so." She smirked. "Try the new blessing net. They're selling them over by the kelp boilers." He didn't reply. He didn't trust nets that glowed. Magic had returned, sure, but here in Seaview old sea wisdom still held firm. If a net sings, it's calling to something bigger than fish. Down at his slip, the worm lure bobbed, tethered by barnacle-streaked ropes. She was old, the paint worn thin and her hull peppered with rust glyphs, but she still floated, and that was enough. Marlin cast off, rowing past the half-drowned stone pylons that marked the old harbor wall. Beyond them, the water was glassy and pale, tinted by the slow churn of the Royal somewhere deeper out to sea. The other boats kept their distance today. Maybe they'd seen it too, the shimmer on the tide, the hint of wrongness. Marlin dropped his net. It sank with a gurgle and a whispered prayer he didn't say too loud. Overhead a gull circled 3 times and screamed like a dying man. He waited. The sea didn't answer. Not at first, but then a tug, not sharp, not violent, just steady. He hauled. From the water rose a net heavy with glimmering fish, rainbow-bellied, their scales still pulsing faint magic. Not dangerous, just changed, like everything else. He sighed in relief and whispered thanks, not to Celior, not to the gods of the city, but to the sea herself. You didn't name her in Seaview, you just respected her. Hours later, his catch laid out on stone slabs, Marlin sat on a crate in the market square, sharpening his gutting knife. Around him, the city spun with lazy coastal energy. Sails being mended, ropes spooled, steam carts wheezing past with crates of dried kelp. A bard sang by the well in a cracked voice. Children ran through puddles. A pair of women from the Chapel of Tides passed, their blue and silver robes wet at the hem. They nodded politely, and Marlin nodded back, though he didn't meet their eyes. He remembered when the chapel had been smaller, quieter. Now their prayers drifted too close to the Royal for his liking. "Trask!" came a familiar rasp. He looked up to see old Nunil, the crab-legged witch from the stilt houses. She held out a wriggling rune-carved shell. "It came up with your haul. I felt it in the water." Marlin took it without touching her hand. The shell pulsed faintly, its spiral etched with a symbol he didn't recognize. "What's it mean?" Nunil grinned, all black gums and storm eyes. "Means the deep hasn't forgotten you." He scowled. "Maybe it should." She only laughed and hobbled away, leaving him with the shell and a stomach full of old dread. That night Marlin buried the shell in the sand below his hut. He poured a line of salt around it, just like his father had taught him. Then he sat on the shore, watching the moon rise over the surf, silver and cold. The sea whispered. He didn't listen, but he didn't sleep either, and in the dark, something very old brushed the edge of the shore and turned away.